Hello, I'm Robert Axon. I am the state party vice chair, and we welcome you to another discussion with some of our candidates. As you know, we're going through these dialogues and discussions for all of you as state delegates to have the opportunity to hear some of the same conversation from each of the candidates for the various state party leadership positions and have an opportunity for you to see what they bring to the table, what's their approach going to be, get to know them a little bit better. And so we hope that you'll take the opportunity not only to watch this video, but to watch the other videos for state party chair, as well as the other offices that will be posted as we have them available. Obviously, you can see here on this recording that I'm sitting here with Carson Jorgensen, one of our candidates for state party chair. And Carson, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks for taking this time.
I'm glad to be there. I told Rob before we started here, I was on my way in and I just felt a little bit under the weather. So I drove an hour, turned around and drove home and said, you know what, I'm not going to do that to the party. But thank you, technology, for making this possible.
Hey, and that's something we've all gotten used to over the last year or so is pivoting to technology and using functions like Zoom. So appreciate the conversation, even if you're not here in person. And it's a great opportunity again for all of us as Republicans and delegates to pay attention to what's going on. So again, Carson Jorgensen, thank you for running. Thank you for being willing to put your name on the line and being willing to step up and serve. It's only on the back of people being willing to serve, whether as a state delegate, whether knocking doors or volunteering on a campaign as a donor or as a candidate, that the party moves forward. So very much appreciate all of that going on. A couple of things that I need to highlight for you as state delegates. Reminder that May 1st is the date of our state convention that will be happening at the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake County. So just a number of days from now, we look forward to seeing all of you here in person. In the lead up to that, there are a couple of other events that you can participate in if you are interested. And I would encourage you to look to utahgop.org, and you can look and see the events that are coming up on that Friday, the 30th of April, as well as May 1st, Saturday, and then of course the convention that day as well. So again, looking forward to being with all of you here in a couple of days. So Carson, jumping into helping folks get to know you, tell us something that's unique that folks might not know about you.
So probably the most unique thing, and maybe I talk about it too much, but my family, we've been ranching sheep here in Utah for the last 150 years. My family was some of the first people to bring sheep to the state of Utah. I still work on the sheep ranch every single day. I got up this morning really early and got all the sheep situated before I headed your direction. And it's just something you get to be a part of the state, and it brings a whole new perspective to the landscape and to the public lands. And that's something that people may not know about me, that my family still lives and ranches here in Utah today.
Oh, very nice. With that, and maybe this is what drove your decision to do this, but tell us why you decided to run for this position.
Really, honestly, Rob, that has a lot to do with it. As you well know, working with Mike Lee's office last year, there's a lot of things politically that are affecting public lands in Utah. There are a lot of things politically that are affecting ranchers and farmers and rural people in particular that I really get in touch with. And that's something that's really driven me to be involved. I tell this story sometimes that one day I was riding my horse. We were herding a bunch of sheep, and I come out over the top of the hill and I have my horse and my dog. And I was like, man, I could sit here and do this forever. And something told me, you know what? If you don't stand up and we don't start standing for freedoms, this isn't going to be available to you or your children.
And those epiphany moments, I think all of us that engage and try to volunteer and be a part of the process, we have similar moments like that. So that speaks to me certainly, and I know the things that motivate me. I challenge anybody watching this, think about what motivates you, and as you answer that question, whether it's for your kid's future or for your neighborhood or issue A, B, or C, let that motivate you, not just through the convention as you perform your state delegate duties, but moving forward as you engage with the party. Carson, what's a challenge that you've had in your personal or professional life that taught you something that you think prepares you to not only either help others, but maybe serve in this capacity as state party chair?
You bet. So, well, it was 6 or 7 years ago now. I went to start my first business, and this was a challenge. It really was. You're being a young kid looking for funding to start your own business and to find somebody to believe in you enough to be able to raise capital to start a business. And as I took this on, I went to bank after bank and just said, you know what, this is my business plan. Laid it all out on the line, and it was no after no after no until finally somebody said yes. And I mean, that was a almost a year-long process of going to lender to be able to raise the capital to start this venture. And after we did, we've been running for 6 or so years now, and the business is still going successfully today on the side of ranching. And so that's something in my life that really taught me a lesson. You know, we might try things and they might not work. We might try again and they may not work again. But if we stick to it and we persevere and we try hard, eventually we're going to succeed.
What do you think's the biggest challenge to your candidacy?
The biggest challenge I would think at this point is the amount of time that I've been involved in politics. I mean, I've only been involved in state politics here 3 or 4 years now, and I think that's going to be the biggest hindrance to me is that maybe people don't quite know me yet, and there are some great candidates in the race as well. But the other thing is, you know, with COVID, nobody's got to be out and meet people yet. We don't know what the slate of delegates looks like. We really are trying to connect digitally to these people whom we've not yet met in person.
What do you think, building off of that? Obviously, the party has challenges, the state has challenges. What do you think is the greatest challenge facing the Republican Party here in the state of Utah right now?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me. After speaking to a lot of delegates, I think it's the divide within the party at the moment. That is something that's going to be a challenge for us going forward. And I believe it was Reagan that said that somebody that we agree with 80% of the time is not an enemy, but an ally. And inside of the party right now, and in politics in general, if we disagree with somebody on one issue, all of a sudden they're our enemy. And that's something we have to look past. You know, there are going to be other Republicans whom we don't necessarily agree with a lot of the time, but at the end of the day, that's what the Republican Party platform is for. We understand what we stand for. We understand the values inside of the party, and that's something we can rally around, because I don't think we should make it about people. Too often politics becomes about one person in particular. We don't like that person. We don't like their attitude, and then we're turned off towards them. I'm more looking towards policy right now. You know, we need to rally around policy because that's something we can all get behind regardless of personality. And that is a big problem inside of the party right now. And so as we have discourse going forward about the divide inside of the party, this is something that we really need to address.
Hey, I appreciate you sharing that. I couldn't agree more that there's more that we can do together collectively as Republicans. And if you laid all of us that are participating in this next convention, whether we're current state party leadership or we're a state delegate or we're a volunteer or we're a staff member or we're a candidate, if you laid us all up, I'm sure that you would have the entire spectrum of political thought within the Republican Party would be represented in that group, and we're better off for it. And I think that if we can focus on that and focus on winning elections based off of the principles like you talked about and those policies, I think it's a winning solution moving forward. So I appreciate that. That's something that is important to you, and I assume is important to, if not all, most of the delegates that are listening to this, and hopefully all.
And that seems to be a common consensus as I speak to delegates, that it's that divide in the party that's really hurting a lot of them.
Yeah. Something I found as I've served as the state party vice chair, I found that those outside of the party and their portrayal of the divide within our party is far greater than what is actually occurring. And that gives me comfort, because what I know inside the tent is a lot of wonderful Utahns that are trying to make for a future that we all want to raise our families in. And you know, those that are naysayers from either other political persuasions or outside the party for whatever reason, the portrayals that they throw our way, while not true, it gives us a call to action to make sure that we showcase to our fellow Utahns how false those characterizations are. And I think we have to do that by how we engage.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty behind how the Constitution set up our country. I mean, when you look at it, it was meant that the states had power so that we could live in a state where we agreed with people that where, a way of life, that's people move to states based on their way of life. But it goes even a step farther than that. It even goes to county politics, because the state of Utah is so diverse. I mean, it's about as diverse as the landscape is. I mean, from the Red Rocks in southern Utah to the Uintas in northern Utah and the nasty West Desert and the big city, it's all so much different. But so are the people, and so are the counties, and so are the needs of the counties. And so it makes it a little difficult when you're comparing what somebody in rural is struggling with compared to somebody in the urban. And that's a divide we have to address as well. We have to be able to bridge that gap and say, you know what? I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the solutions, but this is what's in front of me. And as the state party, that's something that we really need to look into, is the diversity within the state, and be able to use that to let them govern themselves inside of those counties to be able to win elections and continue on. That's something we have to realize and recognize, is that we're all really different, but we all bring different strengths because of that diversity.
Well, keeping on this theme of diversity within the party, we have a diversity of audiences, really, and these are the key constituencies that the party thrives off of. So you've got political donors, those that donate their money or their resources or their time to the party. You have grassroots activists, those who have been engaged for a long time and put in a ton of time trying to help candidates. You have candidates, you have elected officials, you have average Republicans, you have caucus attendees, you have Utahns that aren't political. There's all of these various audiences that we have. So tell us how you, as a state party chair, would manage and focus on addressing the various perspectives and audiences that you would need to attend to.
This is something I always find is a very fine balance, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, this government and our country was set up by the people and for the people. And for me, the people should always come first and foremost. The constituents and the people that we represent, they always need to come first. And so as we listen to them, we're able to better develop policy to suit what's happening. But then we have to take it a step further. The party has to have donations to run on. There has to be capital raised, and those donors are a huge part of it. But we also always remember that we're accountable to the people first and foremost. And we have to take it a step farther. As we engage in these issues, as we engage with policy, we're also able to find people who resonate with that policy, who have a vested interest in what's happening with that policy, to be able to further those relationships through this policy itself. And that makes for a more cohesive effort, because it's always a fine balance trying to get everybody to get along. If anybody's ever lived in a farming family before, the dynamics are pretty interesting. Everybody, you got grandpa and dad and brothers and sisters, and it's a fine balance, and everybody has their own interests, and everybody has their own idea of how things should be done. And at the end of the day, you have to take a little bit from everybody, weed out the best ideas, get rid of some that are not going to work, and make a policy and an approach to what's going to happen in the future.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And a challenge I'd give to any delegate who's never been a donor: there's nothing stopping you. Go to utahgop.org, even if it's $5. I've got a Coke Zero here. Maybe instead of buying a Coke Zero today, giving a couple of dollars to the party. The dependency on big dollar donations goes out the window if all of us collectively throw in a little bit. So I'll make that plug.
That's a point. You've got a point right there. I hear so many people saying, you know what, the party or the politicians are all subject to these big donors because the big donors are putting in so much money. Well, if that's the case, like you said, if you don't want the party to be beholden to the big donors and the money that it takes to operate, there's got to come money from somewhere. And like you say, it might be $5 a day, it might be $1 a day, it might be $5 a month. But if everybody chips in a little, it reduces the need for the big donors, and there goes your problem.
No, absolutely. I think there's stuff that all of us can do. So whether your ability financially comes in the thousands of dollars or in the small handful of dollars, or your ability comes in the hundreds of hours of volunteer time or a few hours of volunteer time. All of us collectively as Republicans, we've got to figure out what more we can do, just a little bit more. We have great momentum here in the state party right now, and I'm confident of the trajectory that we can go collectively if we all keep focused on keeping Utah red. And so it's something that is a priority of mine. I know it's a priority of yours, Carson, as well as the other candidates. But each of you delegates, I challenge you, think through what can you do a little bit more today. Figure it out, and then whatever that is, we appreciate it. Tell us, Carson, what will your priorities be? Maybe the first couple of things that you'll focus on over the next couple of years if you're elected.
Yeah. So the big things you've probably seen from my messaging and the things that are happening is, we need to bridge this divide between rural and urban in the state. It goes back to the divide within the party. And I believe as we address issues, both rural and urban, and give both the attention that they need and deserve, that everybody will feel included, that they feel like they have a place in the party. The next thing is the young voters. I myself am a younger voter. I fall into that millennial age category, but I'm in a different situation in life. I am married. I've got 4 daughters. I work a job. I'm not in school, but there are many people my age that are still in school. They're still in university. They're still trying to figure out where they want to be in life. And we have to make it accessible to those people. And I don't know about you, but I look at the Republican Party and I look at the delegates, and I think to myself, you know what? And this is going to sound a little bad, but it's not us that's going to change the vote, because we know what we're going to vote for. It's the moderates, the people in the middle who are searching for a party, who don't know what's right and wrong. They're going to be the ones who are going to shift the vote in the future. It's the people in the middle that we have to attract to the party to be able to continue to win elections in the future. And it's creating messaging. It is showing them what the party is actually about and the platform of the party, getting that out to them in a way that they want to be involved with it. And the other thing is using technology to further advance the party. And just like you and I are sitting here today, I would always rather be in person, and I had every intention of being there in person today. But for this state, it's really difficult. And I got an email from a guy the other day that said, I wanted to be involved in convention this year, but because of money constraints and it being in person, I'm not going to be able to make it this year. And I thought, you know what, it would be nice to give them that option, to be able to sit at home where they can actually afford it. We shouldn't take money away from people who can't afford it to be able to participate. And that's not what I want. I want every Utahn who has the desire to serve and participate to be able to do so. And there is a big need for in person, and meeting people in person and the excitement that goes along with it can never be undone. But in the next breath there, I believe there are a lot of things through technology we can use to work out these younger voters, to bring them in, to give people the opportunity to come who may not have the chance, or it would be really, really difficult for them to do so.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. Tell us what maybe some of your priorities would be if you look forward and win this election. What would be the thing that you see as the first thing that has to be done to win elections, and kind of maybe even the role of the chairman in doing so?
I think addressing policy and focusing on policy is going to be the biggest thing going forward. Especially, like I said, my priorities are bridging the gap between rural and urban and giving everybody the tools they need to win. And when you look down ballot, when you look at these county parties, the county parties need resources. And sometimes it's not always money we have to go around, but they need a blueprint or something to go off of, to give them an idea in the direction they need to go, to involve more people, to get people elected to city council, mayors, school boards, county commissions. These smaller branches of government, everybody always wants to focus on the state houses or the federal races or the presidential race. But the things that change it the most are what happens closest to us. And as we change the dialogue going on, we focus on these counties. We give these counties what they need to put good people in place, and not only put good people in place, to be able to find good people. to be able to get those people who don't normally get involved in politics, to bring them to the table, because there are so many people out there. You and I both know them. There are people you're like, God, you would be a great candidate, or you would be a good city councilman, or why don't you get involved? And they just don't know how, many of them. And so as we create these blueprints for the counties to be able to find and articulate a message to bring people to the party, I believe that it's going to change the entire state. It's going to make sure that we keep the state red.
Well, in similar vein of questioning, but tell me, what do you think is the greatest priority for the state party, or maybe the greatest opportunity that we have in the immediate future?
In the immediate future, we have a big opportunity. We're kind of at a tipping point with all the people coming in from other states flocking to Utah for our good jobs and for our good way of life. There's a big opportunity for the state party to grab a grundle of new voters. There is a huge opportunity to increase, because politics has become everything in the state right now, and even in the country. You watch the news, you watch social media, see just about anything, and everything is just about related to politics at this point. And people want to be involved, and so now is a great time to spread our messaging, to spread the platform, to be able to draw these new people in, for you to reach out to your new neighbor that's moving across the street, and to give people these ideas to be able to further the party and to make it part of our daily lives. This is the biggest opportunity, I believe, that the state party has to bring in a plethora of new voters and to bring in these young voters, because they all want to be in politics. Politics has become the cool thing to do. The young kids in college, I mean, that's all they're talking about anymore is free speech on campus and their rights on campus and transgender. There is 1,000 hot points, but people want to be involved. And right now is the state party's biggest opportunity I've seen in the last 15 years to be able to draw in new voters.
If you're elected to be our state party chair, what are you most looking forward to?
My favorite thing in the world is interacting with people. Um, I do a lot of things in life so that I get to meet people. And one of my favorite things is to help people solve problems. I do a lot of consulting with businesses. I do a lot of social media consulting, but I do it so that I can interact with people and I can meet new people and I can help them make their life just a little bit easier. And so for me, if I'm elected chair, that's something I look forward to the most, is being able to get out with the people and having a platform in which to be able to help change these people's lives and to be able to reroute our government the way it was meant to be and the way that the founders meant it to be, is to let people live their lives. Like Reagan said, get off of my back and out of my pocket. And I want every Utahn to feel like they have a voice with the Republican Party.
Well, again, this is Carson Jorgensen, our candidate, one of our candidates for state party chair moving forward. I'm Robert Axon, current vice chair for the state party. Carson, to wrap up, give us your 30 seconds stump speech or your 30-second elevator pitch as to why you should be selected in this upcoming convention.
You know, this is one thing I've never been very good at, is trying to pitch myself to people, because it's just not the way I am. But for me, at the end of the day, if people are happy with the way things are and they're happy with their government, let's keep doing the same thing we've been doing. But if we think that our government needs a change, if we think that the people need a voice again, it's time to do something a little bit different. At the end of the day, the one thing that I care about is that the constituents have the voice, that this government we have and this country we're in is a government by the people, for the people, and of the people, and that everybody that wants a chance can have that chance. It doesn't always mean equality of outcome, but everybody needs the chance to serve, and that's what this country was founded on. And if that's something you want, maybe I'm your guy.
Well, Carson, thank you for your willingness to run and your willingness to put your name out there as a candidate for this office.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, my friend.
No, absolutely. And to all of you delegates, thank you for taking the time to watch these videos and to listen to each of the candidates for these various offices. And the challenge I'll give to you that I've given to everybody else, Carson, if you don't win, please stay involved. If you do win, help everybody else stay involved. It really is what we can do collectively as Republicans in the state of Utah that will ensure that our future is as bright as it deserves to be, and as bright as our kids and our grandkids and our community members need it to be. So
Amen, buddy.
thank you again. All the
Yeah,
best.
thanks
Carson.
again.
We'll
Yep,
see you
have a
all
great
on
day,
May
you
1st.
guys.
Hey, same to you. We'll see you.
See ya.